Welcome to the Real CP Show. I'm your host, CP. And today's topic, if the United Healthcare CEO that was murdered was black, where is the white on white crime crowd at? Where are they at? Where are they at if this was an American black male that took the life of this 50-year-old under the category of race, this 50-year-old white male? There would have been racial racism, you know what, rhetoric, comments, however, parts of main media, numbers of personnel within various parts of predominant culture, even some coonish ones, some sellouts as well within certain parts of American blackism, and certain ones that have the skin of black who know they are, and however other ones. Oh yes, you best believe it have been all types of hatred, racial racism, hatred. Oh, look at the black man. He's always criminality's violent. But in this situation where you have this guy who less than 20 years ago, he wouldn't even be considered on the category of white. His parents wouldn't be considered on the category of white. You see how that goes. So again, where's the white on white criminality crowd at? Yes, there's no white on white criminality crowd on that, right? They're very quiet on that part, isn't it? And unfortunately, there is not enough within American blackism that are calling that out, right? But before I get into what I want to get into, because it's not going to be a long show whatsoever, let me play the one of the initial videos right before that particular violent male that just happened to be within the predominant culture and the classification of white. Let me just play that particular first video.
Brian Schrader in the WRAL Live Center, and all afternoon we're going to be keeping tabs on the search for that person of interest in yesterday's murder in Manhattan. We got a new look at that person of interest today from New York police, and in the past couple of hours, NBC is reporting that police believe that the shooter paid cash and used a fake ID to rent a room at an Upper West Side hostel. Now, Laura Aguirre has the latest on the investigation this afternoon and some of the shocking evidence found at the scene.
New York police are hoping this photo could help them solve the brazen killing of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson. Thompson was gunned down by a masked shooter pre-dawn Wednesday as he walked to a conference at a Midtown Manhattan hotel. Police say the gunman then fled on an e-bike into Central Park. Investigators released these images Thursday morning of a person of interest they want to question in the case, taken at a hostel on the city's Upper West Side.
At this hostel, they said they had this individual who had the same coat, who was wearing a mask. He almost never took it down.
Except for one brief moment at the front desk, say police, who interviewed several people at the hostel.
They remembered that person. So he's a person of interest, and they want to get him identified to determine if he is their suspect or he can be eliminated.
While police work that lead, new clues are emerging on the bullets themselves, according to several law enforcement officials. The words delay and depose were discovered on ammunition found at the scene. Depose was etched into a shell casing from a fired round. Delay was on a live round that wasn't fired, but ejected when the shooter was clearing a jam.
They are operating on the theory that the bullets had a message against insurance companies who, when hit with claims, will delay or go to court and take depositions.
If someone has heard him use those words before and sees that picture, especially of his face in the Starbucks, they would be able to put two and two together and get in touch with law enforcement, hopefully.
I'm Laura Aguirre reporting.
Now, again, if this was a black man that took the life of this 50-year-old Caucasian male, there would have been all types of hell to be paid. Brian Thompson, who was a United Healthcare CEO, it was relayed that he had an estimation of net worth of about 42.9 million. 42.9 million. And they say this includes 72,800 units of United Healthcare Group stock, along with over 82,300 stock options he had sold, valued at over 21 million. Let me say it again. They said he had more than 72,800 units of United Healthcare Group stock. And by the way, today is December the 10th, 2024. When I just took a look at that stock, United Healthcare Group, it was over $500 a share. Do you see how this goes? It talks about how while Brian Thompson's exact salary at the time of his deceasement on this white on white crime, by the way, nothing to do with American black male that did that. While his deceasement remains unclear, reports indicate that he was earning a total of $9.86 million in 2022. The compensation package included a base salary of $1 million, along with additional earnings from stock awards, option awards, and non-equity incentive plans. Now, you know him. He was the CEO. He was up there in the echelons of social hierarchy. You know, he knew all types of people, lobbyists, he knew various types of celebrities. You know, he was in contact with some people in the social hierarchical circles that unfortunately, even certain numbers of personnel within Panama-based culture who don't get it through certain ones of their thick skull. There is a caste system within certain types of Caucasianism. This is why you won't hear anything about Appalachian whites, right? And what they call poor white trash, sitting there getting around with some rich aristocraticness or high social hierarchical whites. Do you see how that goes? But when it comes down to how personnel look upon American blacks, oh, it's togetherness. Do you understand that? And that's what fear exceptions. So let me play this particular last video after he was caught. Now, again, keep this in mind. If it was a black man that took the life of this rich, well-to-do Caucasian guy, it would have been all types of racial racism, hatred on that, right? But let me just go ahead and play this particular last video on this particular part when he got caught. 1 second.
Tonight, the big story around the country, the week-long manhunt for the man suspected of killing the United Healthcare CEO has led to an arrest in Pennsylvania. Luigi Mangiani is considered a suspect in the murder of CEO Brian Thompson. We're learning that he has ties to California. Fox 11's Laura Diaz live for us tonight in Santa Monica. Laura.
Yes, Alex, all day long, reporters have been milling about here in Santa Monica, which is where the firm is located that employed the suspect. But one of the more interesting aspects of this case has been the pedigree of the education of that suspect.
I'm honored to be speaking to you all today on behalf of the Gilman class of 2016.
That's Luigi Mangiani, class of 2016, in a video obtained by the New York Post.
Many of the students characterized our class as inventive, in both imagination and initiative.
He's giving his address as valedictorian at the prestigious Gilman All-Boys School in Baltimore.
In both imagination and initiative.
He's giving his address as valedictorian at the prestigious Gilman All-Boys School in Baltimore. Tuition runs about $40,000 a year. Mangiani, who is now suspected of the brutal murder of healthcare CEO Brian Thompson, also had ties here in California. Fox 11 can confirm the University of Pennsylvania graduate from a prominent family also spent time at Stanford University in Palo Alto, California. Pennsylvania graduate from a also had ties here in California. Fox 11 can confirm the University of Pennsylvania graduate from a prominent family also spent time at Stanford University in Palo Alto, California. Officials said in a statement, "We can confirm that a person by the name of Luigi Mangiani was employed as head counselor of the Stanford Pre-Collegiate Studies program between May and September of 2019. But Mangiani's career connections took him further south to the palm trees and beaches of Santa Monica." According to True Car, suspect Mangiani worked for the Santa Monica-based firm. They said as of 2023, he was no longer an employee. Meanwhile, in New York, on Monday.
At this time, he is believed to be our person of interest in the brazen targeted murder of Brian Thompson. Officers recovered a handwritten document that speaks to both his motivation and mindset.
What exactly Mangiani did for that firm remains unclear at this hour. We know, of course, that he had a magnificent education and was certainly ready to do many. Remains unclear at this hour. We know, of course, that he had a magnificent education.
What in the crocodile's tail was that last statement that this person, I guess, had such an allness of this murderer? Oh my goodness, just great for this education. What does that got to do with him violently murdering innocently a man, right? Yes, he was a well-off man, but to sit there and murder this man like he was nothing is nothing to sit there and be proud of. And then when I sit there and looked at, oh, excuse me, wrong buttons, sorry. And so then when I sit there and start reading about how his background, this guy's background was very, it was not some typicality. Let me just read you something here. Again, this is not going to be a long show, but I want to have people to keep this in mind. If this was a black man that did this heinous unalivement of Brian Thompson, it would have been all types of racial rhetoric. And, people know what I'm talking about. It's very true. They know that, right? And I give respect for somebody who's not going to sit there and play and act like they don't know, this is true. But he talks about how Luigi Mangiani, and he's not, right? Here's the thing about it. He's not a typicality. 100 years ago, right? Today, 2024, this year, 1924, Luigi Mangiani, he would not have been considered within someone of the Padambe's culture in that category. He would have been, his parents would have been a type of outsiders, right? Until a few decades later on, then they were accepted within the Padambe's culture. right? Now, I'm just saying that's something to think about. Now, he came from a well-to-do background on that, but let me just read this before I close out the show. When we talk about Luigi Mangione had been charged with the murder in last week's deadly shooting of the United Healthcare CEO, Brian Thompson, according to the documents filed on Monday night. 26-year old. He's only 26 years old when he was identified a person of interest. So before he was identified, these personnel had a news conference that this person that they were showing at the beginning, a person of interest in this particular shooting. And so these officers in Altoona, if I'm saying it correctly, they arrested Mangione on unrelated charges at a McDonald's, where they found him at just sitting down with his backpack and on laptop doing what he was doing. Right now, it's interesting. Now there was this manhunt out there looking for him, right? But at the same time, suspect the guy who took the life of that Brian Thompson, whatever his name was. Oh my goodness. There was no guns drawn. There was no thrown to the ground. Do you see how that goes, right? Now transpose that. Now that's a blackmail. They did that, and they found him at the McDonald's. Oh, some people know what I'm talking about on that. Oh, he'd have been, that black male would have been thrown down the ground and all kind of stuff. Now, what I also want to get to in this last particular part, when it talks about how, again, his background on that situation. But before I get to that, because this is also interesting, when they said they had found a letter on him, because no telling what he was planning on doing. They were talking about how when the officers caught up with him at the McDonald's and somebody had reported him, that this. Oh, and by the way, interesting that within intersectionality, especially more modern day, numbers of American blacks are told to sit there and, even though if you see some kind of criminality and it's doing damage to certain parts of the community, or some person that will say hood, whatever that's supposed to mean, you don't see nothing. I mean, you see something, don't say nothing, right? Snitches you get I'm getting at. But how is it that in various other communities, they don't talk like that? I'm just saying, right? And so, and finishing up, they said they found a letter, a handwritten letter, a document that speaks to both his motivation and mindset, was also recovered from Mangione when he was apprehended by the police. In a 3-page note, Mangione attempted to justify his actions, police said. He wrote that the U.S. had the most expensive healthcare system in the world. This is what Mangione was saying. The U.S. had the most expensive healthcare system in the world, but lamented that the country ranks 42 in life expectancy. Right on that, right? The most expensive healthcare. But wait a minute now, but isn't this supposed to be the land of the free, right? The American dream, capitalism, right? You see how that go? You see the hypocrisy on this, right? Mangione also referred to the corporation as mafiosa that had gotten too powerful. Now you're talking about what Mangione was saying, talking about he referred to the, I guess, basic healthcare corporation as mafiosa. You're talking about the duck calling the geese a duck, right? And he said that such companies abuse the United States for immense profit. Isn't this a capitalist society? He wrote that others had shown off a light of corporations, corruption, and greed in the past, and claimed that he was the first to face it with brutal honesty, right? The idiotic of that sounded. So, and lastly, this last few things I'm going to say again, what throws this off. Oh, let me show you this particular. Let me get back. Now look at this. This kind of has what I'm getting to in this last part. Free Luigi Mangione. Free Luigi Mangione. Now remember this topic. If the United Healthcare CEO was murdered was a black man, there would be racism all over the place against black males, are already the most endangered, especially American black males. And again, since this was technically a white on white crime, how is it that you got personnel when you start talking about white on white crime, then you start having people saying, "Oh my goodness, why you got to bring race in there?" I mean, it has nothing to do with I'm not listening to that. As soon as I sit there and hear somebody saying that, well, it shouldn't be about race, I'm disappearing, right? Because it is about race. When did the topicality of race ever stop against American blacks? And again, I'm not talking about Coonish was in sellouts. But in finishing up, it said Maggioni graduated from the University of Pennsylvania in 2020. So he went to a very good college. A Penn spokesman confirmed to this particular place he received a Master of Science in Engineering with a major in computer and information system. He received a Master of Science in Engineering with a major in computer and information science and a Bachelor of Science in Engineering, majoring in computer science with a minor in mathematics. The spokesman confirmed. He was no dum-dum, but he still was messed up. He was no dum-dum, but he still was messed up. A great educational background, right? They say while he was at Penn, University of Pennsylvania, he worked as a teaching assistant and founded a video game development club. According to his LinkedIn account, at Stanford University in California, Maggioni was a head counselor for a pre-collegiate studies program during the summer of 2019, the university said in a statement. And lastly, they say he has ties to Honolulu. Maggioni's last known address was in Honolulu, Hawaii, on that situation. According to his Instagram video posted by this particular co-living community, Maggioni had been living there at some point. Now, the thing about it is, again, there were people that also would classify him as some type of hero. I was just looking at somehow some people classify him as some type of sex symbol. Do you see some sickness of certain numbers of people? Oh my goodness. He was against this healthcare industry monopoly. That how many of them puts profit above people's lives? Of course, how many do that? It's a capitalist society. But how is it that this white on white criminality is not talked about like that? And if that was a black man that took the life of Brian Thompson, whatever his name was, and said the same thing. Well, you know, he did that for the little man, the little woman out here who is tired of these healthcare juggernauts sitting there taking advantage of the poor people. I'm tired of he was tired of these healthcare magnates sitting there just taking advantage. And that's why he did that. That wouldn't fly, would it? Of course it wouldn't. It would not have flown. But again, this was a white on white criminality act, and it should also be addressed as a white on white criminality act. So again, this was interesting. It was interesting in a point of how he was shown, just as you see it in this image on the front. Free Luigi Maggioni. Now imagine if that would have been an American black that did that to that particular Caucasian man who had a family. And by the way, what was also less talked about is he also was separated from his wife He was separated from his wife for several years. That wasn't really talked about. And there are some questions on, interesting on this situation. So I just wanted to relay this topic over because, again, unfortunately, in various parts of society, they really don't like to sit there and hear reality of, again, if this was an American black man that sit there and took the life of that particular Caucasian guy, of Brian Thompson, if that would have been a black man, especially American black man that did that, there would have been all types of, again, racial racism, hatred toward the black man. I thank you for tuning in to the Real CP show.